Welcome to Austin. It's a little bit chilly out there. You got some panhandle weather down this way. If you would, I'm going to ask you to stand for the presentation of colors by the Bryan PD Honor Guard. The invocation is led by Commissioner Lameau, and our invocation by Commissioner Hester.
Join me in the pledge, please. I pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
And now the Texas pledge, please. Honor the Texas flag.
I pledge allegiance to thee, Texas, one state, under God, one and indivisible.
Let us pray. Heavenly Father, Lord, we thank you for this day. Lord, we thank you for everyone that's gathered here. We ask that you be with us and guide us as we make decisions today. We hope that they are glorifying you. Lord, I pray that everyone that's here, that you give them safe travels. For our brothers and sisters that are out there working, I ask for a hedge of protection. Be with them, guide them, bring them home to their families. For those that we have lost, Lord, let us not forget who they are. We ask for comfort and peace for their families as only that you can provide to them. Wrap your arms around them, give them strength, and give them love. Lord, forgive us where we fail you. In Jesus' name we do pray. Amen.
You may be seated. Special thanks to Bryan PD Honor Guard members, Lieutenant Dean Schwartzlander, Sergeant Ryan Bona, Officer Daryl Fikes, Officer Alex Tran, and Officer Amanda Vela. Give these guys a hand. Ms. Wilson, will you call the roll, please? Here.
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 Sounds like a quorum's present. Okay. Okay, have we announced the meeting dates for next year? Okay, all right. Then we'll move to agenda item number 2, which is the reading of Peace Officer Jailer deaths since September 7th of 2017, Ms. Grigsby.
Good morning, Commissioners. The following 7 deaths have occurred since the September 7th, 2017 meeting. Deputy Constable Mark Diebold, Tarrant County Constable, Precinct 5, end of watch, Thursday, September 7th, 2017. Police Officer Elias Martinez, Jr., Metropolitan Transit Authority Police Department, end of watch, Sunday, September 17th, 2017. Police Officer Floyd East, Jr., Texas Tech University Police Department, end of watch, Monday, October 9th, 2017. Senior Trooper Thomas Patrick Nipper, Texas Department of Public Safety, Texas Highway Patrol, end of watch, Saturday, November 4th, 2017. Border Patrol Agent Rogelio Martinez, United States Department of Homeland Security, Customs and Border Protection, end of watch, Sunday, November 19th, 2017. Trooper Damon Allen, Texas Department of Public Safety, Texas Highway Patrol, end of watch, Thursday, November 23rd, 2017. And finally this week, Police Officer Kenneth Copeland, San Marcos Police Department, end of watch, December 4th, 2017.
Thank you. Let's observe a moment of silence to remember these officers and their families. Thank you. We'll move to agenda item number 3, which is approval of the minutes of the September 7th, 2017 quarterly meeting.
Move for approval.
Have a motion
Second?
and a second. Is there any corrections or additions or discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carries. We'll move to agenda item number 4, which is receive reports and take any action necessary. And we'll start with Executive Director Vickers.
Good morning, Mr. Presiding Officer, Commissioners. Welcome to Austin. Had some lovely weather for you here this morning when you come in. You'll have in your packet the normal documents, the budget status, cash flow report from for 2017 plus so far this fiscal year is in your attachments. Your criminal misconduct quarterly report should be in there, which covers August 22nd through November 19th. That's attachment B. We have had a request, and we are looking at maybe revamping that misconduct report that makes it a little bit more grouped together, make a little clearer picture for you. I think that's a good idea, and we're working on getting that done so you'll have a clearer picture. We've had 3 training provider applications approved since our September meeting. First, the Williamson County Sheriff's Office Academy was approved on September 15th. Williamson County was a contract provider, a contract training provider. They requested, and their status was changed to an academy on that date. They have very nice facilities, and they had a lot of support from their area that wanted to join with them. It's almost like a group effort. They're just the focal point, but there are many of the smaller area agencies in that area will be working in conjunction with them for that, so we're excited about that. The Texas DPS Officers Association had a contract approved for contract training on September 15th. And then finally, Savant Learning Systems, which many of us know as Virtual Academy is the title they go by, was approved on October 10th. They're a national company that's coming into Texas, and they're spending a lot of time and money getting into Texas, and I think they're going to do some good stuff for distance learning in the Texas arena. We had our training coordinators conference. Thank you those that were able to make it. Those that weren't able to make it, hope you can make it next year. It's always a great time and a good conference. We had a very positive conference, I think. 780 were registered for it. We actually had 730 people scanned in, so it is a large conference. We did have our new venue this year. We had just flat outgrown the Omni as far as the training events themselves, and so this was the first year at the Bank Center, and we went into it with some trepidation, not sure exactly how it would work. I think I can say very clearly that it was a success. It went very smoothly. We got tremendous feedback from participants that they loved the venue. Now that we've kind of got the new venue established, when we come into the conference for this year, we're even going to do some new things such as roundtables. We're going to try some roundtable discussions for the various groups like telecommunicators, academy coordinators, very specific roles, and get some roundtable time for them, and that's always proven to be very successful and popular at other conferences that I've been to. So we've got some new things that we're going to be looking at there. Comments have been very positive about it. I do want to do a special thanks to Commissioner Whitaker for participating in our fun run. Several runners came up to us afterwards with comments, positive comments about having a commissioner that actually got out and ran with them. And then when he finished, which he is quite obviously a runner, he waited until the final runners came into view and then went out to meet them and ran in with them. And I think just the whole effort that he took on that spoke a lot about our commissioners, and I thank you for your participation in that. We've had some very dramatic staff changes. Y'all are aware of them because I've let you know about them, but I want to go ahead and kind of make it official here today. John Hellenberg, that was our Director of Operations, was provided with an opportunity to apply for another state agency. The opportunity came up. He grabbed that opportunity and ran with it and was selected as the Executive Director of the Texas Board of Veterinary Medical Examiners. So he will do wonderful things over there. When they called me on it, I told him he's a very strong leader. They needed some help, and he is going to do some wonderful things over there for them. He took Candace Simon with him as his Director of Operations, so the two of them are over working on that board, or that agency. To come in behind him, I kind of went back to a structure that we had when I came on board, with actually two directors to divide up the different silos of work that we have. I think is a much more effective and efficient way of doing that, and doesn't put quite so much pressure on one person. So I'm pleased to announce to you that Michael Antu has been promoted to Director and is Director over Enforcement and Special Services. You will hear from him here in just a little bit. And Kenny Merchant has been promoted to Director and Director over Credentialing and Field Services. These transitions have been very seamless at that level, and staff is really accepting and liking the changes, and a lot of laughter in the office. A lot of people happy around the office right now. That always makes me happy. I think they're good workers when they're happy. We also promoted up to fill in behind Candace, who was captain over my enforcement division. Doug Skolot has been promoted to the captain's position and will head up our enforcement division. We do have some open positions that we have been interviewing for just in the last week or so, a field agent position for West Texas and an investigator position, and we're in the process of working those. I think we've made our selection, or we're at the point of making our selection on a field agent. It's just now working through the process of background investigation and seeing how that works. So some exciting times and some staff changes. We do have a couple of new employees that I'd like to introduce to you. Please stand up when I call your name. Kayla Manders has come to our credentialing division, where she's processing L1s and F5s. Kayla previously spent 7 years working in early childhood education. She has come right in and fit right in and become part of the family, doing a great job. Always has a smile on her face. Very pleasant to work with, and we're very happy to have her with us. She's doing good work. Another new employee, Letha Rendon, has joined our legal division staff. Letha holds an associate's degree as a paralegal from Austin Community College. She's worked as a paralegal for 10 years in both the public and private sectors, including the Attorney General's office, the Comptroller's office, Travis County, and a couple of law firms. She and her husband have 3 children. Letha's, one of the true skills that she has is looking at processes and working out processes. And so the first thing she did when she came in is we put her in our open records section to look at how we were doing it and to help set up a process for that. And the results have been amazing of what she was able to do there. And she was so successful there, we moved her as far as focus over to credentialing for right now. She's already been looking at 2 or 3 of the processes of credentialing. She finds redundancy in the processes that we've been using, ways to streamline the flow of documents from one person to another, how we can do it, how many people each document has to go to, and she's done an amazing job of that. So we're very fortunate to have her and glad that she's on board with us too. I believe that's all I have for now. Unless you have questions of me, I'll move on.
Let's welcome the new employees.
Absolutely.
Yes.
Director, you made a lot of good decisions with the exception of Merchant.
I understand.
I lost my field rep.
I understand.
Okay. We'll move now to Credentialing and Field Services Director Kenny Merchant, and congratulations.
Thank you, sir. Good morning, Commissioners, Mr. Presiding Officer. If I can start off just by saying I'm happy to be here, folks. I'm really loving what I'm doing so far. The main topic I want to talk to you about this morning is non-compliance. Obviously, being an odd-numbered year in the fall, one of the things that we deal with in credentialing with the assistance of IT is the non-compliance. Our previous unit and cycle both were scheduled to end on August 31st of 2017. Executive Director Vickers granted a 30-day extension to help out those folks from all over the state who came to the coast to help with the disaster recovery efforts there. I think that was a great thing. The bad news is we still have some folks that are non-compliant, some actively appointed folks who are non-compliant. The good news is I looked up the numbers for our last end of cycle, which was reported in the September 2013 commission meeting. We went into non-compliance with approximately 2,000 non-compliant licensees. We're entering into the non-compliance cycle this time with approximately 1,300. So we've seen a 35% decrease in the number of non-compliant people this time. Non-compliance is a lengthy process that begins with notifications to agencies, then notifications to individuals, the opportunity not to make up, but to complete the training that was missed, some possible mitigation of what's supposed to be a suspension down to a written reprimand. And we're just now getting into that process because of the additional 30-day delay in the extension. But I'm pleased to see the numbers that we have now. I also have to give some, maybe stepping on Director Antu's toes here, but I want to give a lot of credit to the IT staff in that we basically had to reinvent the methodology for doing our non-compliance. They jumped in the middle of doing that, have been very successful. We're pretty confident in our numbers and in the process that we're going through to take care of non-compliance. The other thing I wanted to mention, I just want to reinforce something that was mentioned by Executive Director Vickers in the September meeting, is we are really intent on focusing both in credentialing and field services on our customer service skills. As we go through and review all of our processes, the services that we're delivering out in the field and at the office both, my primary concern is making sure we're taking care of our customers out there in the most efficient, expeditious way that we can. Do you have any questions?
Okay, thank you. We'll move to Director Antu's report of Enforcement and Special Services, and congratulations to you too.
Thank you, sir, and good morning, Commissioners. Is this thing on? Yeah. There we go. All right. So I too, along with Kenny, I'm glad to be here, and I hope that we can mess it up together at least, or we'll figure it out. So we have started a lot of new changes and updating some processes, and again, follow up with what Director Merchant said. We've automated some other processes through the TCLED application that will take care of some of the hands-on repetitive work that some of the credentialing folks do to free them up, not for just free time, but for all the other things that they'll have to entail. We've also worked with the Field Services Division and came up with some reports. Our report writer, Lena, does an outstanding job and works with them and gets them a product that gets the audits and everything that they have to do done much faster. So just want to put that out there. Another thing that we go over, and I'm going to give credit to Lieutenant Canella. He does a great job. From the last commission meeting, he's actually, with the help of Cullen Grissom, activated 6 agencies throughout the state. We're averaging about 6 to 7 every 3 to 4 months of new agencies, most of which are independent school districts, which are seeking police departments in lieu of a school marshal program. But that's what they're doing now, and that does entail an on-site, some travel time, and Lieutenant Cannella will say I jinx them because they always come out on opposite sides of the state at the same time. So that's just what we do. And another thing that he does that he takes great pride in, we always strive for 100%, is we're preparing for the new racial profile and reporting period, which will start January 1. The IT department is working with our programmers to prepare the software to make sure it's ready to receive all the reports, and we are programming for all the new changes that will be required in the 2018 reporting period. Other than that, glad to be here, and any questions?
Mr. Chairman.
Commissioner?
Director, one of the things that's always been a concern, I think, for a number of us is the number of active cases that our investigators may have. And as you're looking through process improvement, which is phenomenal, and I'm glad we are, because we should constantly be doing that to make sure we're not a burden for our customers and the agencies out there. But if there's a way we can improve that so that case load isn't that high, I don't know what the answer is. There may not be one, but just ask that you continue to keep that as a goal as we start the new year for seeing how we can manage that.
Most definitely. Captain Scola has gone in there and is doing that as we speak, and has found a few just classifications and a few processes that we can kind of expedite them, so we're not holding them quite as long, and just get them through the process faster.
And some of them are it's no faults of staff. We're just waiting on the case to go through, and so we get that number too. And so maybe it's just a matter of capturing those that are pending versus those that have been done. But anyway, thank you to all of y'all for coming on board. I'm really excited and looking forward to this next year.
Thank you.
Other questions? Okay, we'll move to Director Grigsby, Government Relations Director, report.
Good morning, Commissioners. I wanted to give you a quick update on the curriculum committees that have been working very, very hard as a result of legislative changes. There is one new course that is already completed and posted on our website, and that is the eyewitness identification curriculum that came out of House Bill 34. There are 3 additional courses that will be posted this coming Monday, and those are the basic court security certification from Senate Bill 42, the de-escalation for interactions with members of the public from Senate Bill 1849, the Sandra Bland Act, and the mental health for jailers, also from Senate Bill 1849. There are a few others that are still in the process. One of those is civilian interaction training from Senate Bill 30, and the mental health course for the basic jailer course that may be a little bit different from the standalone continuing ed course from Senate Bill 1849. We're also coordinating with the Commission on Jail Standards on the jail administrator examination that we will be hosting on the MyTCOL website. That is set to be done it must be done by March 1st. We anticipate it'll be done before then. But there are ongoing meetings related to that. And then all 3 basic licensing courses are set to be ready to roll out for public comment by early next year. And that is actually the conclusion of my report, unless you have any questions.
I do have one.
Yes, sir.
On the jail administrator. Are current grandfathered?
That is an ongoing discussion. We actually have a meeting about that next week that includes some of the sheriffs, the Texas Commission on Jail Standards, and the legislative representatives.
Okay. Just seems like to me if you've been a jail administrator for 15 or 20 years, test doesn't make much difference, so.
Sure.
Mr. Chairman, if I may, we feel the same way, and we did that same type of process, even though it's apples and oranges, but still the same basic concept with telecommunicators when they became a license, and people that had been working as a telecommunicator for many years, it wasn't a whole lot of sense in making them go back, and they knew the job already very, very well, and so we're looking at that from all angles, but we're very open to trying to make that process as smooth as possible for existing and for the sheriffs. We do have to work within the direction and of the legislature and how that they want that done and their intent on that. But we're doing everything we can to make that as expeditious and easy as possible.
Okay. Commissioners, any other questions or comments?
Mr. Chairman, I do.
Commissioner Hester.
Just a comment, and publicly while we're here, coming to the conference this year, for all of the staff that's here, from the staff that created the scan-in procedure to the staff that showed up an hour or two before to get things ready, a lot of behind-the-scenes work that went on at the conference, and y'all did a phenomenal job. And as Director Vickers has always said, we can't be successful if not for good staff that work for us. So from those that had to stay back and man the stuff at Austin to those that were there working and scanning and doing it, thank you very much. I received a lot of positive comments while I was there, and y'all just did a phenomenal job. So thank you very much.
Yeah, good job. I agree. Okay, motion and second to receive the reports.
I so moved to receive the reports.
Second.
Motion and a second. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carries. We'll go to agenda item number 5, which is receive reports, items to discuss, follow-up items from previous meetings, and take action if necessary. Mr. Vickers, Director Vickers.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. One thing that has come up that has been a request from out in the state is for us to begin to look at considering the acceptance, I should say, of equivalency for county jailer and telecommunicator training that comes from other states or from the federal level. We do that with peace officers. We do that on many fronts with peace officers, and we've never really come to a point where we thought about that much about bridging that same gap. And once the question came up, to be quite frank, I'm like, well, why haven't we? You know, and so we have discussed this within the office at length and command staff. It seems both reasonable and appropriate to do this. Therefore, it is staff's recommendation to you that we begin doing so. I'm bringing this to your attention to provide you the opportunity to let us know how you see on the request and vote on it if that's how you want to handle this, if that's what's needed. But our suggestion and recommendation is to accept out-of-state and federal equivalency for county jailer training and telecommunicator training from this point forward.
Comments?
Mr. Chairman.
Commissioner Hester.
I completely agree. I think it's a good move. Given that, I'll make a motion to approve.
Second.
I have a motion and a second. Is there any further questions or discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Anything else under that?
No, sir. That's all I
Okay.
have for that.
All right, we will move to agenda item number 6, which is take action to enroll and induct officers in the Texas Peace Officer Memorial Monument, waive the requirement for induction at a separate commission meeting, and take action to induct officers into the Texas Peace Officer Memorial Monument who were enrolled today.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Commissioners, this is a process that we've been involved with by legislative direction for many years now. It's, in all frankness, it's never been a very comfortable position for us to be in. When names would come to us for potential induction into or to be put on the memorial wall, the task of deciding whether those needed to go on the wall or not fell on my shoulders for many years. And I had rules that I had down to follow on that, and we did that to the best of our ability. And the process that we had, I will say, has been very cumbersome. And it lended to some issues that arose where I could not release names until y'all had approved them. And so we waited until the meeting before the time for it to start looking at putting names on the wall to bring you the complete list of names for you to approve. That did cause some issues around the state because there were people in the state that needed those names. For example, cops at the organization needed those names to start working with the families. I totally understand that and understood it at that time, but I couldn't give them the names till we went to you. That came to a head this last session, and there's some legislative action that came out because of that. And so we, as part of looking at new processes and how we're doing that, they set up a committee through the legislature to actually work together to put together the memorial ceremony that happens every time. I've decided to carry that even further in an effort to show that we want to be transparent and to show that that we try to do the right thing on names that go onto the memorial wall, and we want to follow the direction that the legislature is taking us on that, and the direction that the current legislature would like to see that go. We're completely revamping that process. There was a committee that was defined by law to work on that ceremony. I have decided to include that committee, if they're willing, and they are, to even help us with the decisions on who goes onto the wall. It will still end up having to come through me for a final stamp, but we're going to go to them and let them help us make that decision. I think that provides better transparency. I think that provides a more global view, and also, once again, in total frankness, it provides coverage for us that we are trying to be transparent in that process. That whole process, the new process and the way we're working on that, has been facilitated by Director Grigsby. She's doing an amazing job. I've had tremendous feedback, because that's not always an easy thing to do. There are some partners that are on that committee coming to the table that don't necessarily always get along, and is her role and her job as a facilitator to try to make that work, and she has done an amazing job. So we do have some names for you today, some action that we're doing there, and I want her to take the ball now that I've kind of given you the foundation of what brought us to where we are, and let her take the next step on that and tell you why you're getting names now instead of right before the ceremony, and the steps that we're taking there, and I'm going to let her handle that.
Hello again. So just to reiterate what Chief Vickers said, this new legislation has actually provided a great opportunity to work together with some partner entities. The way the legislation was passed is there are actually 3 voting members, and that is CLEAT and TMPA and Concerns of Police Survivors. And then there are seven other members of the committee that are mostly state entities like ourselves. We have not only included those, but we've taken an inclusive approach and brought in some other stakeholders and entities that had a lot to bring to the table. And that has been, that's been a very successful process so far. I would like to now bring to you 17 names for current deaths. We will most likely bring you, God forbid, any additional deaths through the end of the year, and then the historical names that have been submitted to you in the March meeting. But like Chief Vickers said, the first meeting that this committee had, the stakeholders that represent the families really requested that we make any effort to get them the names sooner so that they could work with those families and make travel plans, hotel reservations, and things like that. So with that, these are the 17 names, and all of them have been recommended for inclusion as a preliminary recommendation by the Executive Director with the input of the 3 voting members of the Ceremony Committee. The first is Captain Thomas Ray, aged 46, from the Orange County Sheriff's Office. End of watch was October 23rd, 2016. Captain Tom Ray suffered a fatal heart attack following a foot pursuit of a suspect reported to be in possession of stolen property, and ultimately passed away approximately 36 hours later. He is survived by his wife, parents, son, stepson, and 2 brothers. Border Patrol Agent David Gomez, 44 years old, from U.S. Border Patrol. End of watch was November 16th, 2016. Border Patrol Agent David Gomez was on bike patrol with several other agents in El Paso, Texas, when he suffered a heart attack. He is survived by his wife, 3 children, parents, and 2 brothers. Detective Jerry Walker, Little Elm Police Department. End of watch was January 17th, 2017. Detective Walker was shot and killed after responding to a call involving an armed suspect. He is survived by his 4 children. Assistant Chief Deputy Clinton Greenwood, Harris County Constable's Office, Precinct 3. End of watch was Monday, April 3rd, 2017. Assistant Chief Deputy Clint Greenwood was shot and killed behind the agency's headquarters building in Baytown. He's survived by his wife and 4 children. Border Patrol Agent Isaac Morales, 30 years old, United States Border Patrol. End of watch, May 24th, 2017. Agent Isaac Morales succumbed to wounds sustained 4 days earlier when he was stabbed in an unprovoked attack in El Paso, Texas. He is survived by his parents, 3 siblings, and his girlfriend. Corrections Officer Shanna Tedder, 41 years old, Texas Department of Criminal Justice. End of watch was Friday, June 9th, 2017. Corrections Officer Shanna Tedder died after suffering a suspected heart attack following the use of force incident with an inmate. She is survived by her brother and daughter. Police Officer Miguel Moreno, 32 years old, San Antonio Police Department, end of watch, Friday, June 30th, 2017. Police Officer Miguel Moreno was shot and killed as he and his partner attempted to contact two subjects near the intersection of Evergreen and Howard Streets. He is survived by his parents and 4 siblings. Deputy Sheriff Jason Fan, just 28 years old, Yoakum County Sheriff's Office, end of watch was Saturday, August 5th, 2017. Deputy Sheriff Jason Fan was killed in a vehicle crash while responding to an accident. His patrol car then left the roadway and overturned, causing him to sustain fatal injuries. He's survived by his wife and 2 children. Detective Elise Ibarra, 33 years old, Abilene Police Department, end of watch was Sunday, August 6, 2017. Detective Ibarra was struck in a vehicle crash when her department vehicle was struck by another car in traffic. Detective Ibarra is survived by her husband and her daughter, who was just 10 months old at the time. Corporal Monty Platt, 47 years old, West Texas A&M University Police Department, end of watch Tuesday, August 8th, 2017. Corporal Platt died of complications of an animal bite sustained as he attempted to capture an injured feral cat on campus. He is survived by his wife, son, and mother. Sergeant Steve Perez, 60 years old, Houston Police Department, end of watch Sunday, August 27th, 2017. Sergeant Perez drowned after his patrol car was caught in floodwaters in the aftermath of Hurricane Harvey. He is survived by his wife and 2 adult children. And the remainders, you've already heard the names and agencies from, but I'd like to read them again and give you a little bit of detail on their deaths. Deputy Constable Mark Diebold, Tarrant County Constable's Office, Precinct 5, end of watch Thursday, September 7th, 2017. Deputy Constable Mark Diebold suffered a fatal heart attack following qualifications for the agency's tactical team. He is survived by his wife and 3 children. Police Officer Elias Martinez Jr., 56 years old, Metropolitan Transit Authority Police Department, end of watch Sunday, September 17th, 2017. Police Officer Elias Sonny Martinez succumbed to injuries sustained in a motorcycle crash 1 week earlier while escorting permitted loads. He is survived by his wife and 2 children. Police Officer Floyd East Jr., 48 years old, Texas Tech University Police Department, end of watch Monday, October 9th, 2017. Police Officer Floyd East was shot and killed inside of the Texas Tech University Police Department while questioning a narcotics suspect. He is survived by his wife and 2 daughters. Senior Trooper Thomas Patrick Nipper, 63 years old, Texas Department of Public Safety Highway Patrol, end of watch Saturday, November 4th, 2017. Senior Trooper Tom Nipper was killed in a vehicle crash while conducting a traffic stop on I-35 in Temple. He is survived by his wife and 3 children. Trooper Damon Allen, 41 years old, Texas Department of Public Safety Highway Patrol Division, end of watch Thursday, November 23rd, 2017. Trooper Damon Allen was shot and killed while making a traffic stop on I-45 in Freestone County on Thanksgiving Day. He is survived by his wife and 4 children. And then finally, as I mentioned just this week, Police Officer Kenneth Copeland, 58 years old, San Marcos Police Department, end of watch Monday, December 4th, 2017. Police Officer Ken Copeland was shot and killed while he and other officers attempted to serve a warrant on a man wanted for a crime of violence. And he also is survived by his wife and 4 children.
Thank you. Director Vickers, where does the, is it just one of our rules, or is it legislated that they're to be enrolled at a separate meeting? Where does that come from?
I'll have to check on that. I'm not sure if it's, I would think that it's statutory, but I'd like to make sure on it that it needs to be, go through you and approved by this commission before they can move forward. And so,
Okay, I just, if it's something we could change, I'd like to. If we can't, we just can't.
yes, sir. I will look at that for you and find out.
Thank you. So what I need is a motion to waive the requirement to do enrollment at a separate meeting, and then a motion to enroll.
So moved.
You- Okay.
Well, I think he did it first.
I have a motion and a
second.
second. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carries. We'll move to agenda item number 7, which is discuss and take action on final orders of amendment to existing and new TCO rules. Mr. Beecham.
Good morning, Mr. Chair and Commissioners. For your consideration this morning, you have one proposed final rule, which was originally introduced at the last commission meeting, and you have 9 additional proposed rules for consideration. This will be the first reading of those. I'll address the final order for your consideration first. Commissioners, this is a new rule. This is in response to House Bill 1545, new rule 215.21, credit for high school public services endorsement. There was a change made to this particular rule as it went through the public comment period. And I know Ms. Wilson, I know she'll correct me if I'm wrong here. I believe it's in subsection B, the term security career cluster is what you see versus the proposed rule, which is a non-substantive change, and you can consider for final adoption day if you choose to vote on this. For your consideration, the final version of Rule 215.21, credit for high school public services endorsement.
Mr. Chairman.
Commissioner Hester.
Mr. Beecham, is this rule, is there anything in 1701, did 1545 change anything, and is it specifically spelled out?
In House Bill 1545?
Yes.
No, I believe this rule is, this is just in response to that, and more than anything, this is a procedural rule that just kind of echoes that, if am I correct on that?
That's correct. So the way that the statute came out, it said that the commission shall create rules that establish this procedure.
Okay. So the difference, I think, as we go through these, and this is open for discussion with everyone, but my personal feeling is, and this is based on, there was a bill filed last session to limit the number of administrative rules that state governing boards could pass. I think that bill made one side of the chamber but not the other, if I remember right.
And there was a similar effort this session. Any rules that are created as a result of legislation are exempted from that.
Okay. And so we have some rules that are in our stuff that is an exact duplicate of what is in statute. And so my question is do we need them? If it's already covered there, unless there's a clarification that which we have the authority to do, is there a need for us to remunerate them again in administrative rule?
I think that's a fantastic question, and that's one certainly, that's a great question. I'm glad you brought it up because we're about to talk about the Rules Committee here in a few minutes. That would be some great advice and guidance for the Rules Committee. I think probably it's a case-by-case basis,
right,
ultimately on what the rule is. Obviously, something like this where the legislature requires us to establish some procedure, we'll have to put in there. But my personal opinion, I agree with that, that if we have something in 1701, there's very little need for an absolute letter-for-letter replication of it in the rules, unless there's some amplification or enlargement of some terms in there, or things that we have to define in order for us to, interpret the statute. My own personal feeling is that's kind of oriented towards that way when we get new legislation. But certainly, the members of the Rules Committee, we take each one of those. Certainly, the way I envision the practice is to take each one of these statutes as the legislature gives them to us in the upcoming session, which is right around the corner. And first question: do we need this to replicate this in rule? Most of the time, the answer is no. But over the years, we've certainly, particularly the last 2 or 3 years, we have tried to repeal many rules as possible that were just note-for-note renditions of what was in the statute.
Mr. Hester, if
Yes.
I may, sir. This is funny to bring this up because we're having this discussion in the office now. It's been an ongoing discussion that we are having and with the Rules Committee on what direction is the best to go there. And I have not yet come to a conclusion on what I think the exact correct way to do that, I do want to present to you the other line of thinking that among my command staff, they're not all unified on that because there are two different ways of looking at it. One is exactly what you were describing, where if it's in 1701, there's no reason to be redundant and come over here and put it in the rules. The counter thought to that is the more we make people bounce back and forth between two different codes, the easier it is to get lost in the bouncing back and forth. And also, sometimes legislation is written in language that isn't the easiest to understand. And the thought is that you go into rule and you put it in rule, but you do it in a simplified, do a real simple language. This is what this law says, and make it one place that a stakeholder can go to get what's in the rule, what they need to do, and what their requirements are. Excuse me. So there are two schools of thought there, and I'm not going to say one is right and one is wrong. I don't think there is a right and the wrong, but there are two ways of looking at it, and we're not totally in agreement at this point within the office on which is the more appropriate way to go. So I just wanted, as we're having the discussion, I wanted to make sure you did know what the other, there is another line of thinking there that some of my command staff has brought to the surface and has some validity. Both sides have validity, and I'm not real sure what the best answer is. So we're very open to input from the commissioners to how you would like to see it.
Right, and I would like, obviously, my fellow members to chime in on it, but to me, if there's a way we can be less bureaucratic with things and make it easier, I'm all for it. And to pass a rule just to pass a rule, there are things that we're going to have to do to clarify. You know, sometimes the rules or the legislation's hard because you read this and then you got to go find legislative intent and you got to try to figure it out, and that's where they've given us the authority to make admin rules. And sometimes we don't. Sometimes it's very straightforward. And so as we move forward, I ask that we look at that. So, Mr. Chairman, I give it back to you.
Well, and I think that most of our stakeholders, though, look more at the rules than they do at the code. They don't look at 17 as often as they look at the rules, and there is more clarification in some of our rules. So I think that there are going to be some instances where we need to have specific descriptions that match the legislation, because it is difficult to read some of those bills to make sure that you really fully understand the information that they're trying to communicate. And I think most of our stakeholders do that. They look at the rules, because that's what we tell them. It's in the rules.
Yes, ma'am.
There's ballot on both sides, so we'll see how it works.
I don't
Okay.
think there's a perfect answer. We just have to
Good
do the
input,
best.
good questions, so.
With that, I make a motion to adopt Rule 215.21.
Have a motion and a second. Is there any further discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Before we move, Mr. Beecham, to agenda item number 8, we're going to take about, if everybody could be back at 10:30, back in here, we're going to take about a 12-minute break.
Take advantage of any break
Absolutely.
and never let one go.
Never let it be said that we missed a break.